Hi, I'm Peter Gough. Um, I'm a local artist that does all sorts of things involving interactivity, video production, web stuff, and animation.
Brilliant. So, how did it all start? Is this been something you've always done? Did you come from a creative background?
Um, I sort of went into art college sort of after sort of getting partway through doing sixth form and thinking this isn't right for me. Went there, started playing around with computers, I guess, Amigas it was at the time, doing funny little graphics and little bits of animation and stuff, and got an OND doing that, and then went on and got a computer science degree and went into the games industry after that, doing the art side of things. So I've kind of, it's been a sort of real combination of creative and technology, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And showing your age there with your Amigas, I think.
Yeah, I should explain what one of those is, maybe, but maybe not.
No, to be honest, I mean, it's been really good in these interviews. We've had a really nice spread of demographic. I think the youngest interviewee was 16, and I'm just about to interview a 80-year-old novelist. So, um,
Yeah, almost in the middle, towards the top
yes.
a bit, I guess, but yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in the recent years since you've you know been qualified, and how was the way that technology has changed in that time affected the way that you do your work?
Um, I think I've changed a lot with the technology. I've always been interested in that side of things and how it can be used creatively. And, there's just been so many things to experiment with over the years that become available at home or to an artist, I guess. Um, yeah, that's really been something that's fueled my enthusiasm. And yeah, I've taken it in all sorts of directions over the years from sort of interactive little projects. And also, I've used it commercially as well. I mean, I've done various touchscreen things for museums over the years and a lot of commercial work like that. But to some extent, that has been funding my own creativity, which doesn't always see the light of day, but it's fun little experiments at home or in the studio with nothing else, which one day might see the light of day, some of them. But
Intriguing. So, can you tell us a little bit about these
um,
experiments?
yeah, I'm working on a sort of longer form animation at the moment, which I'm fingers crossed will all come together. But it's quite an epic task, even though I'm keeping the ingredients of it very minimal, trying to limit how many characters are in it, how many settings are in it. But it's very easy for these projects to spiral out of control. And, because you can just focus so much on detail in them. But, a couple of years ago, I was working on a totally different project, which was a lot more code driven, an interactive thing, which again may resurface, but yeah, I'm not sure how much detail to go into on some of those because the want to keep the idea fairly unique until it's out there, I guess.
Absolutely, no, fair enough. Keep
Yeah.
keep keep it under wraps. Totally. So do you generally work on your own, or do you collaborate with others?
I've gone through phases of collaboration and yeah, uh, and worked on paid projects which have been group projects as well and helped other people out on things. But at the moment, I'm sort of running it a lot more as a one-man band. I mean, COVID's been a little bit a part of that, I suppose. But yeah, I chat to people about my ideas and sort of work through it at that level. But yeah, most of the work's off my own back at the moment.
So ultimately, where do you think you want to take it? Are you happy with the balance that you've got now, using like your tech skills to earn a living and then just kind of working on projects for your own enjoyment, or would you like to be able to make a living more from the creative work that you do?
I think definitely push it more in, being totally self-sufficient, doing the creative things that I want to do. But until I get something like that sorted, I have to fall back on doing a bit of 3D modeling for people, or trying to think what else, visualization things, which I do really enjoy doing still, that side of things. But, ultimately it's not what I want to do with my skills, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I think for everyone, it's that finding that balance between things that we have to do in order to support ourselves financially and ways that
Yeah.
we like to be able to earn a living just through the more creative elements. Certainly, for me, it's only been in recent years that I've even kind of considered that I could earn my living through being actively involved as a creative in the creative arts.
Yeah.
And it's kind of exciting, and also just appreciating how many people are employed by the creative industries.
Yes,
Overlooked.
there's a lot of us out there, I guess, and it is nice to work with people, and even, as I say, just the sort of bouncing ideas off people, and the sort of creative thinking side of it is really good. And, I've know quite a few people around Teesside that that's been good to sort of semi-share ideas with, if not fully share ideas. But
So give me a little bit idea on the tech side, what programs you use, what coding languages and that kind of thing, just in case there are people out there that are after somebody, because you're actually, I think, one of the most technologically involved people that I've interviewed.
right. On the coding side, it's been very much based around Unity, which is a real-time 3D environment that you can use for developing games. You program that in a language called C#. And then 3D programs, Blender is being used a lot now, and a program called Substance Painter 3D, well, the 3D's in there somewhere. It might be Substance 3D Painter, I'm not sure. But it's amazing how more flexible and artistic you can be now with texturing your objects, because that always used to be something that was a very tedious and time-consuming thing to get looking nice. And now you can really just paint with material on things, and has changed things a lot.
Yeah, I remember the days of a friend of mine who was an animator. He just basically used to leave his computer on all night rendering, and then rock up in the morning hoping it might be done.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that there is still that thing where people will spend hours just to produce one picture, but then game engines and things like that are doing 60 pictures a second or more these days. You get these very fast frame rates, so all the detail has to be painted or baked into the objects, and it's it's all getting a bit technical, I think.
Getting a bit too technical, but everyone needs to have. So how do people give you their ideas? Do they tend to have like a really clear picture of how they want things to turn out, or do you have some kind of creative?
On the things that I've been doing recently, when it's a visualization, it's like, I'd like to see this and be able to see it from this angle, even though it doesn't exist yet. And they'll tell you what it's made of, and then you build that object, you put the approximate materials on it and try and make it look like it's in the real world, if that's what they're after. On the other hand, it might be, we need a scary little creature. Can you sculpt us one of those? But what does it look like? And sometimes you have to make it up and be a bit creative there. yeah, it's all good fun. And sometimes it's the challenge of being accurate. Sometimes it's the challenge of using your imagination and coming up with something a little bit different.
Awesome. So you did mention earlier a little bit COVID-19. So how's lockdown been for you? How's it affected your practice? Have you still been able to work and keep yourself together?
Um, More or less. I mean, I've done less work definitely, but that on the other hand has been more opportunity to work on my own stuff, which I've not always taken that opportunity. There's been a lot of very quiet time, I guess, and I'm not averse to a bit of binge watching. So I'm getting through it, but I'm also getting through most of Netflix. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, obviously, this project is just coming up to the 6 months since we started, and I think a lot of people were really glad of the first lockdown because it gave them time to sort of sit back and reflect on their creative practice. And but we're kind of, is it lockdown 2 or 3 now, and where's it going to end? It's kind of, I think we're all kind of ready to get back out there now, aren't we?
Yeah, I've been ready for 3 or 4 months now. So. Yeah, maybe in another 3 or 4 months we'll all be out there.
I hope so. I think at least in an outdoor environment. I mean, that's my plan really, to make outdoors the performance space, and even the planning and creative space.
It's time for winter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of potential places where we can work as long as the weather complies. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, Peter, and let's hope that we're out and about in the not too distant future.
Yeah, fingers crossed, eh?
All right.
Okay, cheers.